Well, this was supposed to be a general discussion about who knows what. Uh, I saw something just before I went on that annoyed the hell out of me. So this might even turn into a Black Lives Matter part 3. I think that's what I'm on. Um, Someone had mentioned on Facebook and a Facebook group devoted to a television show that I like. This television show being Dark Shadows, the original series from 1966. Um, Someone mentioned that, oh, I'm on episode 536, I think it was, and we've hit the first black actress or black character on the show. And I think that episode was probably around 68, 67, 68 when that aired. And that post has kind of turned into a shit show, as one would expect, when one brings up race in a platform that wasn't specifically designed for race. Talking about an old TV show from the 60s. So first of all, everyone assumed for some strange reason that the character was played by Diane Carroll. No, it was not Diane Carroll. It was another black lady. I guess they all look alike. So that's where that conclusion came from, I guess. And, people literally going into this, discussions about, oh, and she died last year and blah, blah, blah. No, that was Diane Carroll. This other actress is someone totally different. They don't even look alike. I guess if you consider being black and female looking alike, sure. And then someone else jumped in, and that's the comment I saw just before I came on, saying, well, if you're gonna be like that, you could also point out that, the show didn't have any Asian, Hispanic, or Native American characters. Okay, so I guess pointing out a lack of diversity is, quote, being like that. And so they have to take it to the logical conclusion, extrapolation of, well, we're going to bring up all the races that aren't white. I think somebody's privilege got brushed up upon when they were not expecting it. Things got a little uncomfortable for Karen, and so she had to lash out and make some weird assumption or implication that, the original commenter was making some sort of, was being like that. Oh, these white devils. Oh my God. If you're not a white devil, you know what I mean. Man, I was walking my dog in a nice neighborhood today. I mean, my neighborhood is nice, but I actually drove him to a different neighborhood to walk him because I was curious to see what was going on over there. In fact, it was a neighborhood I almost bought a house in a very fancy town nearby. Anyway, so the thing is, with fancy ass neighborhoods, there were hardly any sidewalks. So I had to walk into the street. Not into the street, but I had to, I wasn't walking on people's lawns. So I was walking along the curb on the street. And I was noticing people were not, I mean, some people were totally fine and, drove cautiously around me and stuff. Not that they really had to drive around me very much because I was way off to the side, but there was at one point I was in what was basically like a one-way street, kind of room for one, maybe two cars to get through. And so there was a car parked on the street and I had to walk around it. So putting me in the middle of the street essentially. And this car was approaching me going too fast really for the neighborhood. And then, didn't bother to slow down or stop to get around me and the car. I'm in the street and the car's trying to pass me. I swear to God that fucker like accelerated even seeing me in the street. And it's not that, I don't know why I have to explain myself. I don't play the race card all the time, but just in general, I see a lot of carelessness around pedestrians of color. And I was wondering as I was having this walk if, oh, and by the way, I was fully looking the guy in the eyes, and he's, the white devil just kept on coming for me. Couldn't care less that I was in the street. And like I said, accelerated. And I was thinking, I wonder if there's some sort of study about driver habits when there's a pedestrian of color in the street versus when there's a white pedestrian in the street. Because I notice with myself to some extent, but especially with other people, people are very careless, I've noticed, when there's a black person in the street. And also, I've noticed in neighborhoods, if there's a predominantly white neighborhood, drivers seem to be more cautious. Whereas in a neighborhood of color, people are a little more reckless and, speeding through, definitely not adhering to that, the signs you see, drive like your kids are here. I think the implication is that their kids are not there and they don't think of the kids of color as being, valuable, and they don't feel the need to drive carefully in their areas, in their residential areas. But anyway, I should Google that. Anyway, this wasn't even supposed to be about race, but and this whole channel wasn't even supposed to be about race, to be honest, but here we go. It keeps coming up. Because we like to play the race card so much. I was watching what was that movie? I was watching Grown Ups for the first time. And it was funny how, the movie starts out with a flashback scene of all the guys as kids. They're playing basketball in, like, I don't know, 7th grade or something. And they're in the middle of a basketball game, and they cut to the Chris Rock kid character, a black boy. And literally, like, the first thing he says is like, "You called a foul on me because I was black," like, just out of nowhere. Like, it's funny how in movies there's this implication that, like, black people spend all their time talking about being black. Like, I'll be like, having tea and crumpets, and I'll just randomly blur it out like, "I'm black," like just in situations that don't really call for it. We'll just randomly be like, "Yeah, so I was walking down the street the other day and, oh, and I was watching tennis and I'm black." And, I don't know. There's maybe because we are forced to bring it up at times, that there's this sort of mindset among white people that we're like just bringing it up all the time for no reason, in like completely non sequiturs, like random situations that don't call for it. And also there's this sort of trope that we're always crying racism, and I guess some people find that funny. So it's like a joke now that, when someone's decrying racism, I don't know, I guess that's just what we do. That's just a thing we do, and it's hilarious, and we do it at the most random times in the middle of a basketball game or whatever. It's exhausting. This life is exhausting. This place is exhausting. Actually, one of the things I did want to talk about was, oh shoot, I should have Googled it because I keep forgetting the name. There is this book that I'm listening to on audio, and I am Googling it right now. So it's called Ask and It Is Given by Esther and Jerry Hicks. But here's the weird thing. So, okay, it's a book about the law of attraction, basically. Now, I had heard of this quote, Abraham Hicks, and I didn't really understand because I think I saw a video on YouTube from someone called Abraham Hicks, and it was this woman talking, and I was like, okay, is her name Abraham? But then it kind of like referred to her husband too, Jerry Hicks, and I'm like, okay, are they Abraham? Like, why is this woman and man being called Abraham. So, okay, the book explains, and this is so wacky to me, that I should probably be a separate video. Yeah, I'll make a separate video. Anyway, I guess I'm going to end this little rant. Bye-bye.